Star Citizen Matthew Lloyd, who I've had some fun out there blowing things up with, is got the third right question. He said, we sometimes tell progressives that if Obama had been a Republican, they would have protested his entire presidency. Are we holding Trump to the same standard we would if a Democrat? Same standard we would a Democrat? It's hard to imagine the tweets, etc., not getting more of a reaction from the right if he were a Democrat. Should we hold him to the same standard, or is there really something to standing by your guy even when you don't agree with everything because in the end he's fighting for the survival of your tribe? Now, I think he's fighting for the survival of the entire tribe, although the left doesn't understand that. If the forces of reform that voted Donald Trump into place don't succeed, it won't just be the conservatives that'll be finished, it'll be the progressives too, because this world cannot continue the way it's been going on, and everybody knows it. So the question is, do we hold him to the same standard? I think we certainly should hold him to the same standard, but I don't. For instance, I genuinely mean this now. I got into a pretty good discussion with Stephen Scott over this, and off camera as well, after we shot the segment about Donald Trump Jr. and, somebody called him and said we've got dirt on Hillary Clinton, and it turned out it was some Russian person or something. And I genuinely didn't, and I still do not know what the fuss is about. I really don't. If it turned out that Donald Trump Jr. had gotten a call and says, "Hey, we've got some information on Hillary Clinton you'd be interested in," I can't imagine him not taking that call, and I can't imagine him going to some kind of an index in terms of what countries are allowed to do. I can't imagine that. I say you take the call, and you find out. Now, if it turned out that a Russian agent or a Russian citizen or something had information on Hillary Clinton that indicated a leak in the American intelligence system, then that needs to go to the FBI right away, and to not do that, I think, is a serious criminal offense. But I didn't see anything like that. I genuinely do not know what the outrage is about when in point of fact, the world we live in is a world where John Podesta we have emails of John Podesta saying we're going to hire people to go to Donald Trump's rallies, and we're going to pay them to start fights, and we are going to rig the primary system against Bernie Sanders, and we are going to do all of these things. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how Hillary Clinton's server is not an impeachable offense, and Barack Obama communicating with her on it is not an It's nothing there, no story, nothing. But this guy gets a phone call, and he says, well, let's look into it. He looks into it. He finds out there's nothing there, and he says, you know what, this is ridiculous, go away. If he had found out that there was information that was obtained through means that were suspicious, he should have said something about it. If he found out that there was something that was not related to malfeasance on the job, that also presents an ethical issue. But I don't see it. I really don't. Somebody says, "Hey, we've got some information you might be interested in," and was it the Russian embassy that said this? Was it Boris Badenov come out of the shadows in a trench coat and a fedora saying, "Comrade, we have information on how to stop the election of moose and squirrel"? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Now, Scott and Steve both thought that it was a big mistake on Donald Trump Jr.'s part, but for the life of me, I don't see it. I really don't. But if they want to track this Russian story into the ground, that's fine. We already know that they know it's nothing to it, so let them keep grabbing at these straws as much as they want to. The more they do it, the further away they go. And somebody pointed out, who was it? Was it Andrew? I wish it was. If it was, I should have mentioned it. Maybe it was Andrew. I read an article. I should have talked about it today. But I read an article that said that if you think Donald Trump's going to lose his base anytime soon, they pointed to that video of him getting on the helicopter, and the wind came up and blew the hat off of that young Marine, and he went over and picked up the hat and handed it to him, put him back on his head, and then the wind blew it away again, and then Trump went over and picked it up again, and the Marine couldn't leave, obviously, because he was standing at attention. And this article, as I said, I think it was Andrew Clavin, but basically the article said this goes a long way with people like his supporters, and it does. It went a long way with me, I know. So, yeah, I think we need to hold him to the same standard, Matt, but I haven't seen anything that he's done that's even close to the level of treason and stuff. And by the way, we find out now that the guy who's supposed to be investigating this, the leading counterintelligence official in the country, the head of the FBI, is leaking state secrets to the press in order to damage the Republican president. I mean, that's a story. It was Ben Shapiro, perhaps. I think it was, actually. Thank you very much, Azimuth Smith. I think it was Ben Shapiro. That's a story. And the rest of the stuff I just don't get. I really don't. Let's see here. Moving on. David Wellman is back, and let's see what he has to say here. We need to coin a term for the Russia photos cooked up by the Dems and all their propaganda arm, the press. Red Scare doesn't fit. Phobia. Sorry, not Russian phobia. We need to coin a term for the Russian phobia cooked up by the Dems and their propaganda arm, the press. Red Scare doesn't fit. Russophobia. A year ago, there were no problems at all. Anything Russia did was fine. It's people, the benefit of the doubt. Now a major political party is dragging the whole nation through the mud for what? Sour grapes? Yes, precisely. Sour grapes, exactly. Sour grapes is the emotional drive, and that's where the heart of it comes from and the head of it comes from. As long as we keep making these accusations and charges, we are delegitimizing Donald Trump, and the more we delegitimize Donald Trump, the better chance we have to either have him beaten in the next election, or the better chance we have to, pull off this impeachment miracle that they think is going to happen, or basically the more they delegitimize Trump, the more they can keep their own Congress people in line and not allow them to vote for any single thing that the Republicans back. As they can basically bully them into saying, how could you possibly help Trump this way? And I wake up and connected to the last question. I really do. I say to myself, is this serious? Am I just blind to this because I don't like Obama and I like Trump better than that? Is it that? And for the life of me, I don't think it is. I look at the things I saw with Obama, and these are serious, serious issues. I look at the things they're making accusations of against Donald Trump. Not only is there not any evidence, but there's evidence of absence. When CNN says, it's pretty much a witch hunt, and we know there's just basically, bull crap, and I think I'm being fair about this. I'd like to be. I'd like to stay fair about it. And I got off some line somewhere, I think in that right angle, where I said, they're going to stay with it. If it turns out they find out that some intern on the Donald Trump staff went out to dinner in Atlanta and had Russian dressing on their salad, then that's going to be the news for the next 3 days. So knock yourself out, guys. By the way, does anybody actually think that since Hillary Clinton gave the Russians 25% of our uranium in exchange for $100 million or something to that effect, is there anybody out there that actually thinks that Donald Trump is better for Russia than Hillary Clinton? Donald Trump is moving the military in Syria. He's basically confronting them at every turn. He's basically talking about building up the military. If Russia's going to be pulling for anybody, you think the person they would have been pulling for was Hillary Clinton, because they know she could be bought and they know that she hates the country and she hates the military. I don't understand what the whole point of this is. If Russia wanted to influence the election, it seems pretty clear to me, especially since the inauguration, that this is not the horse they want to back for the interests of Russia. This is a guy who's going to stand up to Russia and not hand the ambassador some plastic piece of crap play toy with the word reset on it and make this the basis of America's national foreign policy, for God's sakes. Yeah, sour grapes is what it is. They're using the Russia thing to find an intellectual fig leaf to cover their temper tantrum and their shock and disbelief that they lost this election after they were so sure they were going to win, and it still is the only thing that gives me genuine comfort every now and then. I just wake up and think about that night, and I think about how they've been just having a consistent 9-month temper tantrum, and it's going to be a 4-year temper tantrum, and if they keep it up for 4 years, it'll be an 8-year temper tantrum. Let's see, moving on here.